Hey, good morning. Pat Seekins, operations with the Rocky Mountain Area Type 1 team, and I'm here to give you another update on the Tamarack Fire this morning. We'll start up here in Division Kilo, right along Highway 89. As we've talked about before, everything's looking really good right along this fire's edge, all the way down and across right to the Carson River. So once again, a lot of good work's been done in here, and this is where most of our containment on the fire sits as we speak today. So everything's looking really good up until this point to the Carson River. Continuing on into right along the fire's edge and Carson River. Once again, we're actually still in Kilo here. We did have a small spot fire here north of the Carson River. We did have some folks in there that were flown in and were able to contain that spot fire yesterday, and they'll be doing some additional work in there today. So moving east along the fire's edge, they are looking at some options to potentially get some firefighters right along the black edge, right along the fire's edge. But once again, this is kind of steep, rugged terrain, and options are somewhat limited. But they do have a plan in place to try to lock some of this off to keep that fire spread from continuing to move to the north. Continuing on all the way out to Highway 395, there was some good work done here right along the fire's edge with dozers and hand crews to get some line established here. But once again, we're just trying to lock these pieces off here, and there's just a lot of topography to deal with. So some challenges there, but still some options all the way out to 395 and back. Continuing on into Branch 1, Division Oscar, right along Highway 395. So we had a really active day yesterday. Firefighters were busy patrolling Highway 395 and focused on protecting all the homes and corridors right along the 395 here. We're successful, but once again, from the other night's fire activity, it was pretty extreme, and so it was very challenging for the firefighters to really focus on the high values and being in a good spot along 395 as this fire made pretty significant runs to the east. So continuing on, as this fire continued to push really hard here on Highway 395, we did get a significant spot fire, and that's what you see here. It grew very large, became well established, and made a run to the northeast here. And so folks had to really regroup and really, take a tactical pause and establish some kind of an anchor point to continue to protect values. It got really smoky in here, so aircraft was pretty limited on the use until the smoke cleared. And so we're coming up with a new game plan on trying to find some containment and steer this fire away from the future values to the northeast and as well to the north. So there'll be a lot of work that needs to be done in here. It's a very significant spot fire, and it's going to take a lot of work. So today we've regrouped an entire group of resources just to focus on this fire today that's east of Highway 395. So that'll be the focus today. As we continue west along the fire perimeter in Division Quebec, their focus will be monitor fire spread obviously to the south as it wants to continue down and potentially want to move towards 395, and looking for indirect options, which is away from the fire's edge, to continue or to try to slow that fire spread to the south. So that'll be the focus in Quebec today, and that comes around all the way back down to the Carson River. That'll be the same plan. Starting Division Tango, more or less monitor status. So unfortunately with resources, we don't have enough resources to staff this piece of ground here. This will be monitored by aircraft. They were looking at some further out options along Highway 4 here, but once again the focus will be back to the east and Highway 395. Continuing on the south end of the fire into Division Zulu, this fire's edge as well as Division Alpha, all the way just south of Burnside Lake here. Once again, this is all going to be monitored by aircraft. There is some fire behavior here, but it's very limited and it's slow spread to the south. So this is just slowly moving. We do know we have some values out here that can be protected in the future. But once again, our priorities are focused more on the north and east sides of the fire. So moving into Division Foxtrot, so right around Burnside Lake, just south of there, we know we have a couple spot fires right here just off the main fire's edge. But once again, those are going to be monitored by aircraft and not a real threat to any values to the south, very little fire behavior, but we'll keep a close eye on that moving forward. Continuing on the right along the Black Edge, this has been fairly active, but once again, a slow spread of that fire's edge, no major runs. And that's the case all the way down to just above Highway 88 here. As we go east, just south of Crystal Springs subdivision here, just south of Highway 88, this fire is backed all the way down from the steep slope just above the springs there. And we've had firefighters in here for the last couple days monitoring that fire spread to the north down towards 88. And folks are in place there to protect those structures and to lower the intensity of that fire behavior as it comes down the hill. Things have worked out very well here with the fire behavior and how things have worked out. So this is looking really good, and we're starting to kind of lock off that west side of Highway 89 here, and that's been critical for us for any kind of fire movement to the north. Coming around here just west of Highway 89 here, you see the black line here, so we did add some more containment. So we're feeling really confident about this area, and once again starting to lock off this section of the fire to keep that fire from wanting to move to the northeast. I'll mention structure protection, structure groups that we have in place again that'll continue. Their focus is obviously around the Woodfords area, Crystal Springs, a high presence in Markleyville still, and Grover Hot Springs. But once again, these areas are looking very good, very secure in all three locations. And then we've got a group up here in Mesa Vista doing some assessments and looking at those options. Going back over to the east side of the fire along Highway 395, and I would say also along Highway 208, we do have several structure groups that'll focus on the same thing. Focus on these high values around Holbrook, all the homes in Topaz Lake Estates, Spring Valley. There's still a lot of work to be done in there with some indirect line and some structure protection, and that'll be a very high priority for us today. Once again, we are staffing this fire 24 hours a day, so we have a full night operations, a night shift that'll be focused in all the high priority areas as well along Highway 395, and of course back here around Woodfords and Markleyville as fire behavior dictates. We utilized quite a bit of aviation yesterday, so that'll be a big high presence obviously along Highway 395 in this larger spot fire. And we have a lot of aircraft, a lot of large Type 1 helicopters, and a lot of the fixed-wing aircraft, large air tankers that can utilize retardant in the lighter fuels that can be very effective. Once again, we have to have clear air for that, so if the smoke has lifted and we have clear air, we can be very effective with helicopters supporting the crews on the ground and having some success there, and that'll just continue. And that's where we're at.